So you want to trade meme coins. You've heard stories of people making a lot of money from meme coins. Boden recently did 1000x in 1 month, meaning that putting $1,000 would and you would be a millionaire in a month. So you start your journey, and in reality, what happens is something like this: you buy a meme coin, you think you're early, and then it goes to zero. Many times, many examples of such things. This is one pain level one, or you buy something very promising in hindsight, but you buy something. This is a real example from someone who bought here in Green Circle. The first day, Pepe was actually out there, tradable, and then sold the exact same day and actually made some profits. Yes, made $60 in profits. Now, this is verifiable on chain, and here I've computed for you what this person could have made if they didn't touch and they didn't sell their $600 Pepe that they bought in the first day. They would have $9 million today. That's 14,000x returns. Uh, this is a theoretical case, but this is to tell you that these things happen in meme coins. And imagine buying actually Pepe in the very first hours after it's being listed, and then taking profits after like $60 or 10%. So this is pain level 2. Pain level 3, it's me here writing the most viral thread about Pepe a few days after it was live and not trading it because I thought that's risky, and I decided not to trade it, although I did an investigation and I did a lot of research about it. So that's pain level number 3. You write about it, you don't buy it, and then the thing does 20x. We are learning every day, right? So these are some experiences and some stories about meme coins that might also be probably have occurred to you, or something that might happen to you in the future. So hopefully today I'm going to tell you how you can trade meme coins effectively with a data driven approach, so that you can have a framework to think better for meme coins. Now let's start with some theory. What is meme coins, how to trade them, where to start, and why. Now, meme coins have a very unique pattern, I believe, and in terms of the volatility that they have, the term of the culture, the social media presence, and the accounts that talk about meme coins. Everything is very particular to meme coins. So it's a we can talk about a niche in crypto, and if you look at the charts, they all have some common patterns here. You're seeing Pepe, like few months of consolidation, and then all of a sudden 10x move in just few days, and then right after that 60% correction, and then again 2x few days later. This is another example based AI. Again, parabolic move with very strong corrections, 50%, 70%. Another example, this is Pepe 2. This is a very typical meme coin pattern, a successful launch, just some short-term consolidation just quickly after launch, insiders buying, accumulating, scaling positions, and then it goes viral, parabolic move, more than 10x, and then it goes almost back to where it started. A very typical pattern. We're going to study these patterns today, but let me first talk. Why should you trade meme coins at all? There are a few reasons, I believe. I myself, as I told you, I faded for a long time meme coins because I would say I didn't understand them, or I didn't understand the culture, or it didn't initially fit my background, which is more, I'm a data scientist, so it's more analytical framework, understanding what's happening, etc. And there is none of that with meme coins. So I was the typical mid curver, maybe up until last year, I would say. But then things changed when I saw actually some data on meme coins. I started to observe that actually there is some merit into looking into meme coins for traders and investors. Why? First of all, meme coins, when they launch, unlike VC-backed projects that we are seeing today, like Eigenlayer, Layer Zero and Ethena, and all these projects that are launching at plus 1 billion in market cap and more in FTV, they're launching almost at zero or very small numbers because they're not worth anything, and so this is an advantage for you. This is something that you can take advantage. Also, when you look historically of the history of alts and what kind of alts have returned the biggest returns, most of the time you would see a lot of meme coins. For example, Pepe, for example, Sheep, Doge, Weave, and all these things. Not only they have the biggest returns, but also they have the biggest returns in a pretty short period of time. Maybe sometimes as short as 1 month, we've seen 100x moves in 1 month, and even in 1 year, 1000x moves is not very common, but has been seen quite a lot in the last 3-4 years, I would say. Other reason is that unlike other projects, DeFi projects that have some complicated tokenomics, vesting schedules, angels, VCs, unlocks, airdrops, all this adding to the supply pressure, there is none of that on airdrops. There is only the team. We will talk about that and not to neglect it, but there are much less stakeholders, let's say. The other advantage is, unlike airdrop farmers, for example, who have a lot of exposure to risk of smart contracts, and unlike DeFi, traders or yield farmers that have to lock their funds on smart contracts of different DeFi protocols that sometimes have many different levels of smart contract risk, you have none of that when you're doing meme coins because you're not locking your funds. You have the full custody of your actually assets, meme coins on your wallet if you're doing DeFi, and this is a big advantage, I would say. Also, once you understand the game and how it works and you become good at it, there is a really nice game of rotation you can do when there is typically meme seasons, because not all of them pump at the same time, and because there are quite a few of them, you have actually this nice rotation where you can buy one, make some good profits, and then move to the next ones days later, and this can be very profitable if you know how to do it. Also, another reason is that unlike some other narratives where it's not really sure how relevant they will be in the next few years, or even if it's sure that they will be there, it's not sure how as a trader you can take profit, you can make profits from them. For example, people talk that staking might become less and less profitable in terms of the returns. Now we have restaking and other things. Dexes, etc., they haven't performed really well in the last years, so it's not clear how profitable holding these assets will be. But meme coins is a game of speculation. Retail loves speculation, and there will be always meme coins, and even in 10 years we don't know on which blockchain and with which scalability solution, but we will know that we will have meme coins. And so this is an advantage because you want to spend time on something you can become good at with time, more experience, more skills. And if this thing is not relevant in a few years, then you've lost some time. But I think in meme coin is a game where you can become better at it, and you can still it will still be relevant. Last reason, it's fun to buy and sell these meme coins. So this is maybe another reason to buy to trade meme coins. Now let's also talk about the other side, why you should not trade meme coins. First of all, I mentioned already, they have extreme volatility. It's very common that you sleep and then you wake up in the morning and your meme coin portfolio is down 50% in one day. So this is not for everybody. This kind of volatility is part of the game if you want to play that game. But yeah, this is something to consider. There is an extreme high rate of rug pulls, as you can see here in the chart, something launching, initially going up, and then a lot of people buying, thinking that this will go to the moon, and then the team, we mentioned about the team, we will talk later more about it, but the team then can easily rug and make some quick money. And also considering how easy it is to launch these meme coins, this is a very common pattern. We will talk more about how to actually find and avoid these things as much as possible. Also, because this is a big industry with a lot of money, there is all type of snipers, telegram bots, trying to be as early as possible on the launches, and they are before you. There is a team and their friends who are, as we showed earlier, usually on the meme coins you have this kind of pattern where for the first maybe a few 2 3 4 days, 1 week, nothing much is happening. This is a very common pattern. This is where actually they're positioning themselves, the team, etc., and then they are ahead of you, as well as all these snipers. So there are some people who bought before you, but that doesn't mean you can't make money. But this is something to consider. Lastly, of course, MEV front runs. If you know jars from Subway, sandwich attacks, where you people doing these MEV sandwich attacks, they can be front run actually your trade and make some profit. Last thing to consider is psychology, and also the fact that many people are just sharing some cherry-picked success stories on crypto Twitter, and this gives this image that everybody is making millions on meme coins. So this is a very biased view. Hopefully today we will uncover some of that. Now, how can you make money from meme coins? I think it's important to think about it realistically and think about your situation. Everybody's in a different situation. First thing is, how much money do you have, first of all, and how much money do you want to make? So it's you can do 2x, 10x, 100x, but these are very different strategies, depending on how you want to play them. Obviously, the more you want to make, the more risk you have to take. So this is a consideration. Second thing is, how much time do you have to spend on that? Can you spend all of your day on the screener and crypto Twitter trying to find the next gem, the next meme coin, and analyzing smart contracts, analyzing on-chain wallets? Do you have the time for that, or do you have a full-time job, a family, and you don't want to do that? Obviously, these things are related to the profits. At least for beginners, for more advanced people, maybe they can spend less time and still be very profitable. We will talk about these things. How good are you at trading? Meme coins, we said, is a game of trading, unlike airdrops and all this kind of stuff. So trading has its own elements, one of which is psychology, which I think in meme coins is amplified to a vast degree because of the extreme volatility and because of the hype, because of the FOMO, and because there is all this kind of economy of meme coins and the stakeholders, the influencers, the projects, and all this FOMO thing that makes it a bit difficult to think about, think like a unbiased view of meme coins, especially if you're new to it. You might actually take action based on other people's beliefs or tweets, etc. So psychology is very important. Also, being able to absorb this volatility and drawdowns is part of the trading psychology. But ultimately, you have to be actually realistic to yourself and see your past experience as a trader, as a meme coin trader, and evaluate if this is something for you, if you're comfortable with this kind of volatility and risks, and if assess if this actually matches your profile as a trader. Now let's move ahead. What constitutes a good meme coin? I think meme coins, as you know, they don't have any fundamentals. There's no tech, no kind of innovation most of the time. It's just, and this just is very important, it's just about the community, building a strong community, and which means a strong social presence. The token distribution is important. As we said, a bunch of individuals are launching a project, and they own actually the supply initially. So how well is it distributed, and the different mechanisms of it. We will talk more about it later. Sell tax, buy tax, this kind of stuff. A good meme coin should be unique and not be a copycat of other meme coins. For example, Pepe, beyond being a meme coin, already is it represents a community, right? Pepe is something. There is a lot of artists drawing these Pepe, meme coins and visuals and NFTs, and there is an entire community behind that. This is, for example, I told you that I wrote about Pepe last year. A few days after it was published, it was actually listed. I failed to recognize, the how relevant and how important this kind of and how unique Pepe was compared to other meme coins. So that was a mistake. We are always learning. I will share more of my story personally about Pepe, but one of the things and that I decided not to buy Pepe on the initial days was that the market conditions at last year, if you were there, it was very bad. There was no price action. We were still in kind of a bear market, especially in Q2, and people were still very conservative. And so Pepe was the very first. Actually, Pepe initiated a meme season, but it was the first one. So initially, it was not obvious that this thing will perform strongly. But as I will mention later, when you're trading meme coins, and this is, we will talk about the meme coin strategy, you should not prioritize win rate. You should prioritize risk to reward. And so it's always better to, bet something. Even if it's just $1,000, you better do it if you want to trade meme coins. But I will mention more about this later. And also, last point, a meme coin should be fun and should be something that people relate to it, and ideally universally, not just specific to some region or something, but universally people can relate to it. Something like Pepe, for example. Now, there are like a bunch of tips here I have here, so let's go through each of them one by one. Volatility. If we mentioned about volatility, you want to spend a lot of time on studying charts of meme coins. We will go over a few of them, but as I said, it's very common for them to have 50, 60, 70% drawdowns, even in a kind of bull market environment. I'm not talking even about a bear market, but even, when things are going up, a normal pullback on an normal alt maybe is 10, 20, 25%. On a meme coin, everything is amplified, so it's much more. And you need to actually be used to this thing and actually use it at your advantage. We will talk about the strategies on how to do it later. Don't use leverage. Absolutely do not use leverage, especially for meme coins, because they're already very volatile. The good news is that most of the time you don't even have access to leverage, so that's a good benefit. But for more established meme coins like Pepe, etc., you have access to leverage, but don't do it because they are too volatile and you will get liquidated most probably. There is, as I said, there is a lot of let's say, talks on social media, a lot of people that wants to pump their bags, and there is influencers, there is the entire economy behind that. And so, especially if you're new, you might see people talking about some things, and you might want to take action based on what they're saying. Try to eliminate that generally from your trading, and especially with meme coins, and eliminate any kind of FOMO. That means that you should have a system and trade like a machine with no emotions. And I will actually share in the second part some strategy to do that. But ultimately, it's very important, and that to actually be able to not FOMO and actually remove any emotion, the you need a good risk management, which means you need a good position size. We'll talk more about this later. Understand market conditions, and favorable market conditions create favorable conditions for meme coins. And we've had, for example, Q1 24, Q2 23. As I said, when Pepe was launched, shortly after, there was a crazy run on many meme coins. So at that time, it was a good time to bet on meme coins. But on in Q3, for example, last year wasn't a good time. Generally, everything was going down. So don't, when you're trading meme coins, is understand the general picture of not only the meme coin that you're trading, but everything else from other meme coins to the general market. But I will tell you actually how to do that exactly. Study parabolic moves, because meme coins, we will go on the charts later, but meme coins have very unique patterns and in the way they go parabolic, because as I mentioned many times, for successful meme coins, you have low supply pressure initially. If the team is not selling, if they're holding, and if they want to build long term, like we've seen like with Pepe, then, and this thing goes viral, everybody's buying initially, nobody's selling. uh, if there is a community, and then people start to build conviction, and then there is reflexivity, which means prices go higher and higher. And this is not very, I mean, this is why meme coins are very unique in the patterns, in the kind of trading patterns. So study parabolic moves, study adoption waves, because this thing doesn't happen in 1 week or 1 month. 1 month, a good meme coin has different waves. We will talk about this in detail later. Also, forget about TA, because as I said, there is a lot of emotion in this kind of trading style. It's mostly based on the sentiment of the market participants, and the virality that actually brings is you have in meme coins makes it very difficult to use draw some lines on the chart and try to trade based on that. So I would say my experience has been that just forget about TA. At least if you're doing meme coins, it doesn't really work, especially on the upside. On the upside, it really doesn't work. Maybe on the downside, and buying the dip, it does work. But I will share some insight with you later. Understand market cap, and so Sheep, for example, or now Doge, or all these successful meme coins like Pepe, they already have 1 billion in market cap. So you have to understand that these things will not easily do 1000x or 100x, because for go to 1 billion to 1 trillion is not that easy. You need a lot of liquidity. So if your goal is to actually do 100x, 1000x, then you should not go with these options. You should go with smaller projects, smaller meme coins, or newer ones. So you have to understand what you're trying to achieve. We've mentioned about this previously. What kind of returns are you expecting, and then the type of meme coins that you trade will be corresponding to that. You have to understand obviously the meme culture, uh, study the history of memes, study past memes in crypto, and how they align with internet trends. A lot of successful meme coins we've seen are very aligned and have very good timing with what's happening actually on the news, on on crypto, etc., etc. There are many examples of that. I would also recommend looking into NFTs, not to trade them specially, but specifically, but because they have also a lot of overlap in terms of community, because NFTs is also a very community driven kind of asset class, similar to meme coins. So there is a lot of overlap between these two. Study NFTs as well. It will also help you understand the meme culture better. A lot of people who are into NFTs are also big on memes, so there is definitely some overlap. A bet on the leader. We talked about Pepe. Generally speaking, in crypto, betting on the leader, the first and the biggest project, the more established one, is a good bet. But in meme coins, data shows that these things, this is a good thing to do. For example, Pepe, and quickly after Pepe, we had Pepe 2, Pepe 3. When we have a successful project, for example, Slurf on Solana, then quickly people will launch Blur, for example, for base, Slurf, or Slurf on base, on base, or if WIF is successful, people will launch BNB WIF and Arbitrum WIF, etc. But usually these do not perform well. Understanding this is important because you want to narrow down your options of what you buy, because there is a huge number of meme coins, and so you want to bet on the most important ones and most relevant ones. There is extreme volatility, which means that usually, unlike some maybe more established DeFi projects, or layer ones, etc., who go up in price steadily with shallow pullbacks, as we said, meme coins do not have this pattern, so do not hold them long term. Just it's better to take profits on the way up, and they will eventually have like 40% to 70-80% corrections, even in a bull market environment. So if you're a good trader, generally try to become better at taking profits, but especially specialize on meme coins, and this is also by studying a lot of meme coin charts. And there is too many things, too many meme coins, thousands of them launching on different standards, different blockchains. I recently tweeted about that. So focus on something, on a niche, for example, just on Solana, because Solana is big on meme coins. Keep it on ERC20. Or if you like Bitcoin, focus on Bitcoin runes, which is the most recent one. But limit your choices as much as possible, so that you can, you don't get burned out. We mentioned previously on the first or second slide that somebody bought Pepe on the very first day it was listed and made some nice profits of 10%. So this is a kind of beginner mistake. If you're trading meme coins, and you're doing that because you want to make these big returns, like these 10x's, these 100x, 1000x. So you have to be patient, and you also, although it's very tempting, because you invest 10k in a meme coin, in 2 days it can go up 50%, and you're up 5k, which is a lot, which is quite some good returns. But if you do that consistently, you will never achieve these bigger returns that you're dreaming for, or hoping for. So try to be develop some conviction, and be patient, and wait for some bigger returns. Although sometimes you will round trip your profits, but that's okay. If you want to make those bigger returns, you have to do that game. Be open to rotations. I will talk more about that, but there is a lot of sub niches in meme coins, and there is a lot of rotation. So you have to become good at detecting some kind of euphoria in some projects, and then rotating to other meme coins. As I said, specialize, but not only within meme coins, but also within crypto in general. If you want to do meme coins, they have you have to kind of rewire your brain, because they have very different patterns. Everything is different about them. The tokenomics, the influencers or the people who talk about them are different on crypto Twitter. It's not the same people who talk about DeFi projects, or that talk about meme coins, or shield them. So it's kind of a different kind of skill set that you need. So specialize, because that's where you will get the best results. Don't be liquidity, meaning that you have to understand the game. You have to understand who is playing the game. You have to understand some game theory about the team. At what point it makes sense for them to not rug, who are the market participants, who is before you, and maybe some influencers, at which stage of the euphoria or a sentiment chart are we, etc., etc. I will go deeper on these subjects later, but just don't be exact liquidity by having a bit deeper understanding of the game. Learn crypto Twitter codes. This is very important, because as meme coins don't have any fundamentals, you have everything is on social media, right? Like it's not just somebody buys on chain, or a big whale buys on chain, and then a meme coins goes to the moon. People have to start talking about it for it to go higher and higher, to see these returns that we are seeing. And there is no meme coin that did really well without going viral on Twitter. And so you have to understand Twitter codes. You have to understand how to look actually for information. I will show you examples later, but also understand who is talking about these meme coins. And there are shillers, there are influencers, but although they're not your friend, you shouldn't ignore them as also, if you want to play that game, because sometimes they can provide some useful information, but you have to actually access that information and know their positioning and your positioning to make informed decisions, depending on which how you want to trade meme coins. And I will cover that in the next slides. You have to know, like, some kind of have some kind of information or knowledge about smart contracts, because there is a high rate of rug pulls. The most important thing in general in crypto, but especially in meme coins, is don't blow up, because there is a lot of opportunities every month. There is another 10x, 100x meme coin every month or every other month or a few times per year. So if you just try to not blow up, don't do and not doing any stupid mistakes, eventually you will get better at it, and you might do some good trades, and eventually you might hit the jackpot. So don't blow up, manage your risks, and this also means understanding position size. We will talk about this later. Last point, also related to that, don't try to become rich overnight. Try to focus on longevity as a trader, and just becoming a bit better every time with every meme coin trade, and eventually some good things will happen. Now, let's talk about some of the points I mentioned. First of all, market conditions are very important. On the left chart, we are seeing the Solana trading volume on DEXs. We see that it peaked around mid March, and this also marked on the top of Solana. Let's go actually on the charts. Sol USDT. There's a pullback on Pendle. So Sol USDT, yeah, we had a peak on actually around 15th. And if we check some of the Solana meme coins a few days later here, and yeah, Bank, this was also in March. So generally speaking, things were going up in March, as you can see here, and then so understanding this kind of activity and on-chain activity, and looking at past kind of charts and seeing where has been the top been historically, and helps you understand when the movement or the kind of meme coin season is coming to a top. Another interesting thing is listings, because when there is kind of a meme coin season or favorable market conditions, people start to tend to launch a lot of meme coins. So that's why you're seeing new listings here on Solana and Orca, which is Solana DEX, going parabolic here, and also topped in March, April, as you can see. And these are kind of this gives you clues. For example, here activity was low near that's probably October, and then started to go. This is a big jump. So just if you were at that point in time and you see this jump, and you also see something similar in terms of activity already, that was wave one, that picking up, then that was a good time to bet on meme coins and being early on them. So this is one thing: understand market conditions and meme seasons. Here, for example, in Q1, memes were actually were the best performing narrative of Q1, I think. And in March and February, among the most of the time, they were the best performing narrative here. This is coming from my narrative dashboard, and as you can see, a lot of meme coins were having some really good performances in Q1. So that was a good time actually to go risk on mode and buy meme coins. But I will talk later about the strategies that you can employ. As we said, meme coins don't have any fundamentals, and the only thing that they have is a community and a social media presence. So you have to understand Twitter. Any account, any good meme coin account has a Twitter account, and you have to follow your metrics. Number of followers, how it's growing is very important. For example, when Pepe launched, I was following that project last year, and it was crazy how they were gaining thousands of followers every day, and they went from absolutely zero. They started with a fresh account, and in less than, I don't know, 2-3 weeks, they were already above 100k thousand followers. So that was tremendous growth, meaning that people are paying attention, and people are buying, and engaging with them. Engagement was very high. Ticker mentions and frequency of ticker mentions were really high, but that's not always the case. But these are things that you have to actually, when you want to analyze meme coins, you have to go and actually study the social activity, especially on Twitter. Because as I said before, no meme coin will have a great performance without having a strong presence on Twitter. I will share actually some examples on that later. Same thing for Telegram and Discord. At a less extent, I would say Twitter still is the most important, but on Telegram you can see, and Discord you can see the community and how the team is responding, and if there is good interaction and a vibrant community and good vibes in general, these are good signs. Optionally, some meme coins have a website, but I would say that this is less important. But most important thing is Twitter. Now, about Twitter, we mentioned learn CT codes. I have actually here a few examples from my thread on Pepe from last year, where I did some analysis of who actually talked about Pepe. Pepe was launched on 15th of April last year, and as I told you, so think about how a meme coin can be successful. Anybody can launch a meme coin. So there is a team who launches a meme coin, and then they need actually this thing to go viral on Twitter so that people and retail can buy, etc., and prices go up. This only happens most of the time when so we said strong social media presence. The best and quickest way to do that, and maybe not the best, but the quickest way to do that is working with influencers. So usually we would see these patterns where meme coins, where a lot of influencers will, or shillers, I shall say, will start sharing these meme coins, and the moon boys and all these guys saying this will go to the moon. These are some examples of Polly here talking about Pepe on April 16th, and here Eric Cryptoman, who talks about meme coins a lot, again on the same day. So initially, when I had a kind of negative view of these accounts. But what I realized is that if you want to trade meme coins, although these guys are not your friend and they probably receive some percentage of the supply for writing about these meme coins, and then they dump on you, but you can still make money. For example, even if you had both actually. Pepe at these days, you would be doing really, really well, because as I showed you before, Pepe did some tremendous returns even after that point in time. So this is something that you have to evaluate for yourself. Am I late? Am I early? If at that point, but even that is not very easy, because look at this chart. So even here, from it was launched on the 15th, and even in the first day, that did like, I don't know, 20x or something like that. And at that time, I told you I faded that initially because I was looking at this chart, and market conditions were not favorable. And I was like, okay, at any time these guys, the team can dump, right? Because they are up now a lot, and all these influencers as well. So I was still a mid curver, and yeah, I missed that opportunity. But to come back to these influencers, you have to, it's not as easy as saying, okay, these are shillers and they're getting paid, and just ignore them. You can't ignore them if you're trading the meme coin, kind of niche, because things go through them, and that's how the game works, and how it develops. So you just have to know how it works. And now another thing I wanted to mention is, again, Q2 last year. This is a screenshot from my thread. It was absolutely wild how every kind of meme coin was going parabolic, and it was all over Twitter. I mean, there was nothing. Market conditions were really bad at that time. No volume, no, zero activity on chain. But these meme coins actually had their own season, and so this is something that you should not fade when you see these kind of patterns. Like thousands of people were talking here about Pepe, and so this is a mistake that I made. But now I know better this game. So another thing about CT codes. So for example, this is an example of a project that somebody comes and they launch this project and they shill it, and then what you can see here is that actually they, a few minutes before sharing this tweet, they have bought this token, and they're well positioned, and now they're talking about it, and they want people to buy. And you see that ultimately this is a 1 minute chart, so things quickly start to go up. But then we are looking at here actually now in a 1 day time frame, and as you can see, a few days later it went to zero. So why did it happen? I mean, how can you detect that? We will talk more about this later, but there are some analytical tools that you can use to there is nothing definitive and certain, but you can use to actually improve your chances of not getting wrecked on stuff like that. Okay, adoption waves. That's very important. We mentioned about parabolic moves. As you can see here, this is a parabolic move. Study parabolic moves. We will talk about this actually here in this section, and waves. So I told you that when Pepe was launched, at that time when I posted actually the thread on Pepe, we were somewhere around here on 20th of April, and this thing was up like crazy, like 40x or something. Now, would you buy that here after it's up 40x, and you know that the project is controlling the supply, and market conditions are not good? And as I told you, that Pepe was the first one, so it wasn't like there was no meme coin season at that time yet. Things were starting to pick up, but it wasn't immediately obvious, at least for somebody who is not into meme coins, as was my case back then. So but you have to understand the waves. When you want to trade, actually you have to decide which kind of waves you want to trade in meme coins. Let me quickly go over them, and then I will come back to tell you what actually you need for each wave. So that was wave one. It was like the first 5 days where this thing go parabolic. That was wave two. That happened actually quite fast, but So we had a correction. So this is, you're seeing a strong correction here, and then by the way, this is a listing on Gate. So there were already some listing on centralized exchanges, and then you can see this parabolic move. And so this was where I tweeted about Pepe. And so correction, but although it doesn't look like, but this is a strong correction, maybe 50-60%, and then an incredible move like 20x or something. That happened in just actually a few weeks, 2-3 weeks maybe. I told you study parabolic moves, because no matter like what kind of TA you use, you will not be able to sell the top with just TA, but you can use other tools that I will mention later. But also notice the kind of strong correction that we've seen afterwards. Not only that, but notice how things calmed down, because meme coin season kind of ended in end of May, and then there was, as I told you, the general market conditions were not that good, and so things stayed just range for many months. But that was not it. We had wave three, and so look at wave three now. Wave three happened like in 2-3 months ago in Q1, and you can see here how crazy this wave three was. So now let me come back to talk about waves, because actually you have to decide, as a meme coin trader, you have to decide which wave you want to trade, because each of them have require very different skill sets. Okay, let me go backwards actually. Wave three, already the project is established, probably hundreds of million in market cap, depending on the market cycle, but already a few months that after TG, and so here there is not a lot of risk of rug pull if the project has already a strong community, smart contract risk, etc. They're non-existent. It's usually not hard to think that these established meme coins will not go to zero. So it was obvious, at some point, that Pepe, and all these other established meme coins, they will eventually, when market conditions are favorable, they will go higher. And so it was a good bet at some point, when there was a strong pullback, to just buy these things. We'll talk about the strategy later, but I'm telling you that on wave three things are easier. You can have a higher win rate, and even it's not it's not look at this and look at this. It's not obvious like how much a lower risk to reward is compared to wave two and wave one. Obviously, if you're wave one, you have the highest risk to reward. You're almost playing at zero, and then we saw this guy who could have made 9 million from Pepe if he had hold, and just by buying $600, right? You wouldn't do that. I mean, even if you buy at wave two, it's already 10x higher than wave one. So the 9 million would be 900,000, which is very different. So being early matters, but you can still make a lot of money from wave three. Also considering that it's a trade-off. Obviously you have less rug pulls, higher win rate is easier. There are less established meme coins compared to maybe plus 100 million compared to all these thousands of meme coins that are launching every day that are on wave one. So that was wave three. Wave two is in between, so less rug pulls. Also, I think it's kind of the hardest, I would say, period for meme coins, in my opinion, because maybe a meme coin had a good run, but it's very hard to know right afterwards if that was it or it will come back. It's kind of, for me, it's the hardest question to answer. Like, will it come back, considering that there will be new meme coins that are trendier and that maybe will write some fresh catalyst, etc. This is kind of difficult to tell, but this is where you have to develop your conviction. This is where you have to go on Discord, Telegram, you have to study their Twitter, you have to study how unique they are, how fun they are, how how many maxis they have and how many holders, and what people are doing on chain, etc., etc. But obviously the risk to reward is still good, and you can have a okay-ish win rate on wave two. I would say the hardest, most stressful, riskiest wave is wave one, obviously. But obviously, it's the one with the highest risk to reward, right? Imagine if you're buying here, whereas this guy bought on the very early days of Pepe. Imagine how your positioning and your situation. And also, when you buy at very low prices, if you're not a beginner like that guy, then you should be you are in a really good situation where you can just hold, right? You can just hold and hope that this thing will go higher, because at any point you actually are in profit almost, if it's a good one, if it turns out to be a good one. So this is a trade-off, but at the same time, there are thousands of these meme coins launching every day. So how do you pick this next Pepe? I will tell you how later. I mean, I will give you clues, but these are some considerations. Also, if you want to trade this wave one, you have to understand, you have to have other skills. You need to spend more time. You need to, it's more stressful. You need to go on the smart contract and detect rug pools and detect, look at the distribution of the wallets, who is holding how much percentage of the supply, etc., etc. So there is much more work, because there is no free lunch, right? If you want to get into those, you have to do the work. So again, this comes back to what I said earlier. You have to look at your situation. How much time can you dedicate to that? How good are you at these different things, etc., etc. Let's continue. This is a typical wave one. As I said, initially, nobody knows about the project. They haven't yet gone viral on Twitter. And the team or insiders are just accumulating or preparing themselves. Maybe they're working on their website, etc., on their Twitter account. And then here, what happens is basically some influencers, typically that's how it works, start talking about it, and then reflexivity kicks in. Some people are in profit. Quickly there are some maxes, and the community grows. And then wave one, wave two, wave three. I mean, shorter term waves, but then the wave one dies. So this is a typical meme coin pattern. Remember, very strong corrections. These are your friend actually if you can develop some conviction. But I will talk about strategies later. Now, let's talk about smart contract. As I said, if you want to trade wave one, you have to uh, understand some basics of how smart contracts work, and have some basic safety checks. One of them, one easy one. An easy one is a contract that has been verified. So they have this green thing on Etherscan or Explorers, and you can see here contract source code verified, submitted for verification at Etherscan. This is one thing, and this is the first easy check to do. Second thing, always check buy tags, sell tags. We will go over the tools later, but because some meme coins, they just go up in price, but then you look at the details and you realize that there is 95% sell tax, meaning that people, if they sell, they would lose 95%, which will go to the project. And all this means that people maybe they're not selling, and this means that that's why price is going up, but you shouldn't buy it. And so these are all details that you should know. There is some tools are going now deeper and deeper and tell you share some details about the smart contract. Now you can use tools like ChatGPT and give it the code, and try ask it for you to decode and see if there is any malicious functions, and how the transfer function and these kind of things have been implemented, who is the owner, etc., etc. I will not go over the details here. It doesn't fit the scope of this video, but this is, if you want to trade wave one, this is where this is something that you should know. Okay, so that was part one, and this was just for you to understand meme coins, understand why and how they can be profitable, have some examples of things that can happen both on the positive and negative side. So let's say that you want to start trading meme coins today. Where should you start and how should you approach that? So I like to start personally with this meme coin dashboard that I've developed. I will go later over it, but let me actually do that now. So this is the meme coin dashboard. It's called Meme Lords. I will share the links. So basically, on the first section, you have the performance of some of the most well-known meme coins. But actually, the most interesting part, I would say, is this section where this is telling you what are DGens trading the most recently. These are wallets that I have selected that are into meme coins and trading meme coins, and then looking into what's the latest activity aggregated to give us this view of, okay, what is trending, etc. These are not necessarily all meme coins, like INA from Athena, but a lot of them are meme coins. Now we will do a case study with Andy today, just as an example. I didn't know about this meme coin prior to today, but so I took it as an example, because I would start here and I would see, okay, what's out there, and then so Elon, I know it's not a new one. So again, depending on which wave you want to trade, wave two, wave three, remember, this has a lower risk to reward. I mean, it will not do 1000x. So I'm more interested into new stuff. So Andy is probably one of them. Then there are some others here that you should check out if you want. But this would be the approach, right? Come here and then see what do we have here. So now let's continue with the presentation. One aspect is what's happening on chain. Now I will do the demo later on, on the case study with Andy. But now let's get back to the presentation. So one thing is, what are people doing on chain? What kind of transactions? What token is trending among meme coins? And who is holding what? Who is buying? Who is selling? Etc. This is one thing. I will go later deeper on that as well. But now let's say that you choose a specific meme coin. And we said that we will talk about Andy later, but here I've chosen Boden as an example. US elections are not very far, and Boden has had a great performance. As we said, meme coins are all about communities and about what's happening on social media. I've developed this new dashboard, which is called Social Trends, which is based on Forecaster data, which is a decentralized social media, an alternative to Twitter. Uh, the advantage for me, at least as a data analyst, is that I can query that very easily. Whereas Twitter data is not easily, you cannot easily query the API even if you pay for it. So this is great to see the trends of how what people are talking about. And now Forecaster is big enough, that it kind of mimics the trends that we have on Twitter, although at a smaller scale. But people talk about the same kind of subjects, although the cohorts are slightly different. But it's growing, so I think it's the best alternative right now. I would say, to understand social trends. I will also go, later in more talk more about Twitter. But for this dashboard, you can actually kind of quantify what's happening for given keywords. So if you put, for example, Boden here, it will give you every mention, like the number of mentions of people who have posted, and it contained this keyword. And as you can see, that was listed on early March, and just when it was listed, there's this initial hype of the team and their the people they collaborate with, that start sharing all these tweets about the new project. And this is a very interesting pattern, because right at the start you can see this huge volume candle, but not much in terms of price. And you can see also this huge spike in on social media, or on Forecaster. We can actually easily think that something similar happened on Twitter, although we cannot quantify it that easily. But and then you can see actually what happened with the price, right? So this is real alpha, where you can kind of see what's happening on chain. If you had used, for example, this dashboard at the time, last month, you would have seen this meme coin bot. And by the way, when I took it, and this screenshot, there were already yeah, actually we have it here. There were already some of these meme coins here. So yes, we can actually see what's happening on chain, what are people who are into doing digital stuff trading, and also on social media. Now let's go further. So here there is such a big spike that we cannot easily see what happened, although it wasn't at the same scale, but there was some activity up and down. So if we zoom now, and if we look at this part of the activity, we can see that the spikes that we saw correspond to somehow the peak in price, right? These days were the early days of April. As you can see here, we were seeing the highest mentions on Forecaster about Boden, and this correspond to kind of the top for the price as well. And as we are seeing a similar pattern both in price and on social media activity. And this is the alpha, guys. This is the ultimate thing: is linking the from the data, linking what's happening on the price with what's happening on chain. We saw that we picked these examples because people were trading it, and then looking what's happening on social media. This is the ultimate thing that you should do. Just I would say that we mentioned some tweets, but never just go and buy some meme coins because one person or one account mentioned it. Never ever do that. It could be an influencer. Do all these checks. First of all, come on chain, go on my dashboard, on meme lord's dashboard, see if others are trading it. Come on this other dashboard. I will share the links. See if this is trending actually on Forecaster. What's the trend, etc. We will do this example with Andy in a few minutes. But yeah, do not trust anyone. Do not, as I said, no FOMO, no emotions. Just be systematic as much as possible, and just go through a process. You can actually refine the process later for yourself on which tools you want to use, etc., etc. But don't just do things blindly. Now, pay attention to rotations. Here, we talked about a few things here worth mentioning. One is favorable market conditions create kind of a new demand for meme coins in terms of people launching these new meme coins, and that's the kind of parabolic thing that you're seeing here. People are, in the last month, it was good season for meme coins, and you can see actually from October, kind of that was marked the bottom for everything on chain last year. From there everything started to go up, and that was a good moment. Now we will talk later about the strategy, but that was a good moment as a mean reversion strategy to buy into meme coins. But you can see actually how things are going up now. And now talking about rotation, you can see how there has been a game of rotation where in 2021 bull market, everything was happening either on Ethereum or BNB. At that time BNB was kind of the degen place where, if you remember Pancake, and this kind of stuff, and all these launches were happening on BNB. Now, these days, it's mostly Solana, as you can see, these parabolic moves, and also Base is trying also to establish itself as second house for degens. But this is important because if you're still stuck on BNB, although there is, it's not that it's non-existing, but it still is not the, you want to go with where there is most activity, most wallets, most volatility, most this kind of stuff. So follow the trend here. And that's Solana, but that might change at some time. Here, for example, last year Q1, we had a short Arbitrum season. For those who were there, you remember everything was on Arbitrum was going up. Tools. What kind of tools can you use for if you're into memes? Absolutely, it's essential to use Dex tools or Dex screeners because these pairs that are very fresh, you wouldn't find them on TradingView. So either one of these, depending on your preference, is good. Then to go deeper into the, to analyze the token and the holders, etc., you need Etherscan or the equivalent explorers on different chains like BNB Scan and Base Scan, etc., etc. CoinGecko is a good tool to give you just an overview of the market cap and the price and the history of price, etc., and also the socials, the contract of the token, the website, etc. So this is quite handy. They have a good UI, and you have to do your analysis on social media, Twitter, Telegram, Discord, and Forecaster now, as I mentioned. This is becoming more and more relevant. I hope that it will continue the trend. And then Dune, right? And there are a number of different dashboards. I have a few of them, and there are others, but I will go deeper on my dashboards dedicated to meme coins that will help you go deeper on this game. Okay, now let's do the case study with Andy. So now we came here and we saw this Andy thing. By the way, this is a real thing that I mean, when I was trying to prepare the material for this, I just came here without knowing anything because I haven't been paying attention to meme coins recently, and I saw this Andy and looked good, right? So now what would how would I what do I recommend here? What's the best strategy? So first of all, CoinGecko, we go on CoinGecko. You can see first of all the price action that was listed around 2 months ago, a bit less than 2 months ago. We've seen that it has already done its wave one, as you see a parabolic move here, and you can see the smart contract here, and you can see like everything else, like from tokenomics, like circulating supply, market cap currently 73 million. So that gives you some basic information. You can copy that address. It's on Ethereum. You can directly go on Etherscan, or you can come here and you put the address, and it brings you here with all the transactions of people who have interacted with Andy. Now you can actually go and click here. So this will give you an overview of the token. First things first, we mentioned about the contract. If it's on a wave one, you want to first, as you can see, this contract is verified. So this is a good first check. You can go deeper into the code and look at the functions if you're a dev. If you're trading the wave one, as I said, and you want to be very early. But now it seems that Andy's past that stage. So one thing that you can do here is look at how many holders it has, look at the number of transfers, and also maybe these things, if you're not used to meme coins, you need some numbers in your brain model to see what's good, what's not good, what's enough. But because there is also a lot of copycats of these tokens, you have to have an idea of what is actually some acceptable numbers. And then you can come here on holders, and this is important because you can see here now the distribution of all the wallets who are holding this token, Andy. And you don't want to see like a few wallets here on the top holders or whales holding a very high percentage of the supply. So anything above 5% is usually a red flag, unless it belongs to a contract or something. So these you cannot just take that. You have to go deeper. That's, for example, an exchange account. That's like the pool probably. So you have to know these things. Sometimes it's a team wallet, but also it doesn't mean that these wallets they are not connected. They might be connected if they have just distributed the tokens across different fresh wallets, and you would see those low numbers here, but it doesn't mean that it's not one entity controlling them. So you would have to go deeper, and there are tools for that if you want to go deeper. But for the purpose of this video, you can just have a first look here, and that's what you can do with Etherscan. Now, coming to now Dex tools, you can see here, if you want to study more like closely the chart, you can go on different time frames, etc. You can have this interesting information about the market cap again, the liquidity, very important. How much liquidity there is, how much what's the market cap. You want to see how thin liquidity is, especially for meme coins, how many holders, etc., etc. So this is something that you might want to consider. You can see actually different wallets who have been trading this token. And I was mentioning about some smart contracts. Here there are some tools from Dex tools. You can see that there is no buy tax, no sell tax. So initial checks are okay. And these are some of the things that you would do at initial stage. Now here, let me come back to holders. One of the things that you could do is, for example, if you're one of the things people do when trading meme coins is that they try to find other wallets that are into meme coin trading, and then they want to copy them, or they want to see what they're buying when they're buying, and maybe take similar actions. For the purpose of this video, I've randomly chosen this wallet that has this ENS domain, and then you can actually copy that, and you can come on, for example, you can come here on dbank and put the address, and it confirms that this wallet has this amount of Andy tokens here. As you can see, is his biggest kind of allocation, and so you can look at the transactions, etc. Now, what you can do, something that I have developed recently, is there is this query which is trades PNL. So you can put this is the wallet that we just mentioned, E0024, E0024, and we also mentioned that the wallet, this token has this address 68BB, 68BB. So we are checking actually the trades that this specific wallet has done on this token. Now you can change the token to see other trades of this wallet, or you can change both of them, or any combination, and you can see anybody who has bought anything on chain using this. And now let's go over some of the activities that this guy has done. This wallet, you can see the buy amount on USD at different dates. So they bought like 7K here, 5K, and here 60K. You can also enable the selling. So initially they bought and sold for a small kind of, bought 7K, sold 6K, and then they didn't sell. They are holding and adding to their position. Now you can look at realized USD. So here, just here, because they sold, now this is realized profit or loss. As you can see here, there is -1, like around $1,500 in sell. But now if you enable this unrealized, you can see that this wallet is sitting at around 1 million in profit just from this trade. um, and so you can enable the price, and you see that the price has been going parabolic from 12th of March. Now I need to actually improve that query so that we can clearly see the distance. Here is just the dates that we are seeing, but if we come back here on Dex tools, you can see actually, look at this parabolic move. So here you can see clearly, these returns, and this is something that is reflected on the wallet that we are seeing here, and this person is sitting at this profit. Okay, so you can analyze any wallet, any token, and go deeper and look at their activity, and when they bought and when they sold, etc., etc., using this query that I will share later. Now, we mentioned that social activity is important, so you can come on this recent dashboard that I've made that shows you actually kind of social trends using Forecaster. And here, and there are some, recently, trending stuff like meme coins. You can see that they peaked, as I said, near end of March, and then there is layer zero. They recently talked about their airdrop. Runes were launched, near the halving, so you can see here a nice momentum, and then a bit of nothing too much, and then another kind of maybe something that was announced, as well as eigenlayer again, some kind of airdrop fiasco. So you can see all these trends on social media, number of mentions, and here you can see activity on Forecaster in general, which is quite high. So it's important to have both of these, and then you can see for different narratives, you can, this is still work in progress. I have to add memes, but you can see for different narratives how they are growing over time, and how which for example, tokens are getting more mention, etc., etc. But I want to focus on this section. So here you can put any keyword that you want. So you can put Andy here. You can look how many days you want to look back. And so here we are seeing the activity on Andy, or mentions. And so you can see that since it was launched in March, there was kind of steady increase in mentions of Andy. And so you can actually, if I go like that, you can see that people are talking about this Andy thing, and there are some false positives here to be fixed. But it gives, these are random, but actually this Andy thing is going higher. So that is the social component that we were talking about, and that we mentioned, that you want to see how these things correlate, because there is a high correlation between what people are talking about and the price action, because usually people take action based on what they see on social media. So yeah, this is kind of something that you can do. This other dashboard allows you to see what is the narrative that is being like strongest on different time frames. I have a dedicated video for that, but so I'm not going to into details. But just to mention that in the last 3 months, memes have been the best performing narrative in this list, and even to actually today, until today, in the last 5 months in 2024, memes are by far the best performing narratives. So there is absolutely merit and no shame on trading meme coins. We are here to make money, and so this is kind of something. This is kind of data that we are seeing on chain. So it's proof that there are opportunities into meme coins, and that's why we are looking into that. Okay, let's continue with the. So we saw actually Andy. Now, what could you do more? You could do actually on Twitter, and that's a good thing. Let's go on Twitter. We mentioned that there are you know f- if you Twitter is very noisy, right? So if you just come here and put Andy, so there is a lot of noise here, because there are many different accounts, people about talking about different things, airdrops, and doing TAs, and just sharing all these things. And so i I mean, even if you search for some random very old coins, or stuff like Bitcoin Cash, you know people are still talking about this. Even if we go more older stuff like Neo, kind of these dinosaur tokens, there is still people talking about this. Somehow it looks incredible, but people are still talking about that. So how can you quantify if something is trending just based on Twitter? Even if you use Twitter search or even advanced search, it's not very obvious. But what can you do? For example, it's important to learn advanced search on Twitter. So you can say, I want mentions of Andy since 2024, let's say April 1st, and that have been retweeted a minimum of 20 times. This gives you already a filter about not seeing old stuff, and seeing maybe stuff that has people have mentioned, that has gone viral. And then you can actually go deeper and start filtering some accounts. For example, you can put any account here, CryptoKoryo. There will be nothing, because I haven't talked about this thing. But we mentioned about Eric Cryptoman. Can we find him here? Yes. So, for example, just to show you, actually, if you're not familiar with Twitter search, you can put here Andy, and yes, he has tweeted about it. And so, for example, let's study that further. Actually, that's interesting, and that's very interesting. So you can say, okay, let's come to the chart. That was listed 9th of March. Okay, so let's come back to Twitter. This is very interesting. So you can say until 24/3, and that was listed on 9. So you can say, I want everything before, from Eric Cryptoman, before 20th of March. And you can see here the different tweets that he has. And his first tweet was on March 14, and then 15th. And they're gonna be the next soul banger, one of the blah blah blah. Don't fade the brothers of Pepe. Okay, so that's what he tweeted. And then this is the official account, but that was also on March 15th. So let's now look at the chart. Okay, so you would see how much profit you would have made if you just followed that call from Eric Cryptoman. He mentioned about it here, and look at these gains. So as I told you, you have to, you cannot ignore these accounts. And let's go closer here. 15th of March. So there was some kind of already this is so volatile that it's like 4x here just on that day, because probably because of the tweets. But then there was accumulation, and actually this started to take off in April. So now continuing with the investigation we are doing on Twitter, let's see. Okay, so that was one thing. You saw that that account has some good calls if you're into meme coins, for example. Not not advising anything, but just you have to come up with a list of people you want to follow that are into meme coins. So now let's remove that. And we said that it started to trend after what did we say here, around 1st of April. So what happened at that day? Why did it go so viral? I'm sure that there are some elements of answer here. So let's go from until 10th, because it started to go viral before. And let's do something like this, and let's put Andy, and let's put also minimum retweets 30, just to start. So again, different people are talking about this. If you look at number of views, these are not super viral. So let's increase the number of minimum retweets. Let's go to 100. Sorry, yeah, 100. Okay, so that's what happened actually. Bitget is an exchange listed, kind of apparently was listing at that date this token. So listings always pump the price. And that's another listing here, CoinW. I don't know these exchanges. Now let's go lower. Let's go with 60. Okay. I mean, you have to do the work for yourself. And so how many followers do they have? 30. That's even, you have to be very careful. Let me clarify that this is probably not the official account, and so that's why it's important to use the right tools. So here, if I come on Twitter, yeah, apparently yes, this is the official account, at least as registered on CoinGecko. It's strange that nobody that I follow is following it, but people I follow are not all into meme coins, so that's maybe why. But yeah, I will not continue further into that. You have to look. I mean, if you want to play that game, you have to understand what people are talking about. Oh, okay, look at that, Mario Nafwal, this guy who is into the most viral Twitter Spaces. There is some mention of him here now. I don't know if there was really something here or it was just a tweet, but at least the activity is kind of high. Okay, yeah, apparently there are some mentions of that project here, so that which explains here. So you can actually play with this one. Another thing, just to close that chapter, another thing you could do is, okay, now this is the official account, and if you want to, you can actually mention, like filter that account and say, I want mentions of this account. This is another thing you can do. And so anytime there is a mention of this account within the other filters, you would see this trend. So people were definitely talking about it. And yeah, so this is, and so there is a giveaway apparently. So yeah, this is how many people. Yeah, so this account has 250K. As I told you, things go through influencers. This account has 1 million. Yeah, so that's a strategy. That's a common strategy. I've never heard about CoinW, but there are some kind of these influencers that nobody follows them, at least from people in this space, but they have a lot of followers, and then some retail people see that, and then they will buy it, and then the effect of it is this price action. So at the end of the day, it's like a game, and you just have to know the rules, and yeah, these things, that's how they pump. So if you want to trade these things, you have to know what kind of game you're playing, and who to follow, etc. So that concludes the demonstration of for today for Andy. Now let's go back to the presentation to conclude the last points. There are different niches on meme coins. There are AI meme coins, open AI, closed AI. There are political meme coins. We mentioned Biden, Trump, etc. There are blockchains, even meme coins, personalities, catalysts, ecosystems, all these different kind of blockchain meme coins. So we said you have to specialize. It doesn't mean you just have to exclusively choose one of these, but maybe you can do that. For example, choosing just going on Solana or Base, for example, or Blast, or these three seems reasonable options to limit yourself and not be bombarded with thousands of options. So focus. Now let's talk briefly about strategies. One thing you could do if you're into wave 2 or wave 3, trading of meme coins is buy the dip. As I mentioned, there all these blockchain, all these meme coins, they have very strong pullbacks. As you can see here, we are seeing Pepe 70%, almost another 70%, 55%, 64%. So you can just set up some rules saying that if there is a pullback of more than 50% of one of these, top 10 to top 20 meme coins that are above, let's say, 100 million by market cap, you would, you would buy the pullback, and then you would just hold, and that's a good strategy, I think, because as I said, these usually will not go to zero. They will do very good usually in good market conditions, as we saw with Pepe recovering very fast. So if now, just as an example, let's conclude with some charts. Pepe. So here is the situation for Pepe. Just a few weeks ago was a great time to buy Pepe. Now, if you go with some others, they're all here another 50% correction. If you go with WIF, etc. So you can just set up some sorry, bonk. You can just set up some alerts. So for example, here 65% correction just 2-3 weeks ago, and then already it's up 2x. So very volatile, extreme moves, which usually are quicker to the upside and slower on the downside. But then if you study them well, Pepe, we mentioned there is Pepe 2, so you can check Pepe 2. Not a lot of volatility here, etc., etc. Yeah, for example, maybe for example, there has been this move correction, another move correction, and this will probably not die. So, and it has like a good pullback. So depending on if you believe that can go higher or it's not dead, that might be maybe a good entry for this strategy if you're into mean reversion and you have enough conviction. Now, another strategy strategy is to trade the most trendy meme coins. Understand the social game, see what's trending on Twitter, on Forecaster, everything that we discussed. Check the data on chain, check the data on the socials, and then just follow the trend here. So and try to be as early as possible, so that you have to ape first and think later. That's how you play that game. Third and last strategy that I'm sharing here, just look at this as a lottery thing, and you can dedicate, like, you can say, okay, I'm going to throw like 1k, 10k, 5k, whatever you want per month to this thing, and I'm just going to hold for a few weeks. And you pick 10 meme coins per month, and you throw like 500 for on each of them, and you just don't touch it for 1 month or 2 months, and then you just pray, rinse, repeat. And eventually, if market conditions are good, if you do your homework and if you do everything that I said in this video with all the tips, with all these strategies, etc., etc., you will become better at not picking the wrong meme coins in terms of rug pools, etc. I mean, to a certain degree, right? It's just a game of probabilities, but you will improve your win rate, and you will become better at it. And eventually, you will start to make maybe sometimes 2x, sometimes 5x, etc., and you will refine your strategy. Now, let me give you, to finalize, a general strategy. So let's go bigger. As a general strategy, I would recommend a few things. First, you need to improve your win rate, and you do that by detecting, becoming better at detecting like rug pulls and this kind of stuff that don't have any community. As I said, don't do beginner mistakes of just buying because somebody said, or not checking like if the contract is verified and this kind of stuff, or do all the set up for yourself checklist. Did I check the social media? Did I check the Telegram? Did I check on-chain activity on Etherscan? How many holders do they have, etc., etc. Develop some conviction, and this is the first thing. Improve your win rate. This will improve your win rate. Now, in terms of the risk to reward and how to improve it, you can either go with the buy the dip strategies that I told you, that will give you some really nice entries, and you just have to be patient for things to pick up. And then also, as I said, this is not a game where you are happy with 20%, 50% returns. You're playing that game to have these much higher returns. So just wait for market conditions to be favorable, and be patient, and give it time. Especially if you're playing in this wave 2 and wave 3 games. If you're into wave 1, it's much riskier, but the rewards usually come much quicker when things play out well. So also decide where you want to play. And now prioritize, I would say, risk to reward, because it's just we mentioned at the start of the presentation, this guy who bought $600 of Pepe and could have been a multimillionaire today, but just made $60. He will probably not forget it for the rest of his life. But don't be that guy. Just it's okay to kind of have a low win rate, but you just want that one big winner, right? So you have to kind of rewire your brain, because you first of all, lower win rate is not something that is easy. I mentioned earlier about trading psychology, having multiple losses in a row, etc. But this is just how this game is. You just have to be like a VC where they invest in maybe 50 company and hoping that one of them will do great. And it's just about being systematic and no FOMO, no emotions. Ape first, think later. As I said, if you're doing wave one, you want to be very early, and as soon as you see some activity on picking up, and I'm speaking with experience now, as I told you about my Pepe experience, unfortunate, just just invest something that you're comfortable, whatever that amount it is for you, and just and then you have a risk management system. You are diversifying, so just don't hesitate, just buy and see how it works, and eventually you will get better. Now about diversification, last point. um, if you go with just few plays, it's too risky because there is extreme volatility. Everything can go zero. If you go too high in terms of diversification, even if you have a 10x, it will represent a small win on your general portfolio. So some good numbers, rule of thumb: if you have high conviction, if you're doing wave 3, for example, high conviction plays could be Pepe, and let's say what else, it could be Slurf and Weave, and and Boden, just giving some random names, but because these are already high in market cap, you can develop your own ones. And if you're going into more, wave one, you need more diversification, obviously, 10 or 15 or 20, depending on how you're exactly playing that. So just think about these things. And diversification is not just about the number, it's also, for example, if you're doing everything on Solana, and then Solana, it happens that sometimes it goes down, then all these tokens take a hit, and your portfolio as well. So try to maybe buy a few meme coins on Solana, on Base, etc. All these things are rule of thumb. By the way, you can, if you have enough conviction, you can do whatever you want. But just as a rule of thumb, also you can diversify in terms of themes and also time. Last thing, you give it a try. Try to implement some of these points that I mentioned. Be patient. Define a framework for yourself. Define how much you want to spend on that in terms of money, effort, time, energy, and see how it works for you. And then assess at the end if you're happy with the results. And then if you're not, try to see if this is the best thing to do for you. Because as I said, I mean, this is like, if we talk in 6 months, or if we look at the data like 1 year ago, this chart would have been very different. So memes would might have been in this end of the worst performing narratives. So this is just to say that there is rotation, and there is also a lot of correlation in crypto. So maybe when general market conditions are good, everything is going up, etc. So the problem with meme coins, and this is my conclusion, is that we mentioned all the positive things and the negative things, but ultimately there is a lot of options, right? Thousands of meme coins. And so you have to constantly be aware of what's new, what is the new trend, etc., etc. It's very time consuming. But if you're, let's say, just to say something random, if you're into the L1s, we don't have thousands of L1s, right? Who are established and have some decent TVL. Maybe there are 20 decent options, or maximum 30. And if you do your homework among these 30, you will see that, okay, actually there are maybe 5 or 6 or 7 that are really good. And then it's easy to create a portfolio of just a few assets of L1s. You have high conviction, you've done your research, and you just hold them. And many times they will outperform memes, right? So if you cannot perform well with memes, just say, okay, maybe I'm better just holding some other stuff, AI, or for example, AI is another good example, because it has been a great performing narrative in the last month. And there are just few, like maybe 20 AI projects with the token, or even less. If you do some due diligence, you can pick the best ones. So, and there are not AI is not something where you can see some good projects popping up every day. So it's much easier, right? It's much easier. So just decide for yourself if you're doing well or not well, and adjust your strategy. I would say, to conclude, that it is possible to make money on memes. Absolutely possible. You just need to put the effort. It's not easy. I would say it's one of the most time-consuming, stressful narratives, because of how risky it is, because of all the rug pulls and everything that we discussed. But it is possible. Some people are making good money on that. Try to become 1% better every week, and there are so many elements that we covered just briefly, from smart contracts and how you can analyze social media and Twitter. But I could dedicate hours and hours to each of these and go deeper. It was just a general introduction into meme coins, but you can actually fine tune all these elements: your position size, your risk management, and why did you miss that trend. Like I spent a lot of time analyzing why actually I didn't buy Pepe, where it was very easy for me, just to allocate a few thousands to this. I knew about the project, so why didn't I do it? Okay, so I learned my lessons. So do the same for you. See where you're performing well, do more of that, and then see where you're not performing well. Do you want to do, and then pick your niche within the meme coin narrative. Do you want to do wave one? Do you want to do wave two? Do you want just to focus on Solana, etc., etc.? Find your strength, find what works best for you. It will take time, so give it a few months to become better at it. Set some objectives. It is possible, and enjoy. And also, more importantly, try to have fun, because it's ultimately meme coins are that's what it is about, right? So try to trade while having fun. I hope this was helpful, guys. And there was a lot of work behind preparing this presentation and all these other dashboards that are all for free for you to use. So if you enjoyed the content and you want to see more, please give this video a like, subscribe, and you can also follow us on Twitter, where I regularly share new trends and narratives, etc. You can subscribe to our newsletter, and also I will share all the links, but you can come on our Dune page, and here we have different dashboards. We mentioned about the memes, we mentioned about uh, the social trends, which is a new dashboard that I have developed, and as well as other narratives like AI, Solana shitcoins, etc. That will help you with depending on where you want to go. And also, I have a dedicated video on how to trade narratives that you should check out. That's all for today. I hope that was helpful, and see you soon.